So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about what is a reserve study and is it necessary and should we get one? So what a reserve study is they typically will have a third-party independent company, and this company will come in. It has usually a very strong background on building engineering and understanding how long things are going to last in the building. And they're literally going to go through every square inch of the building from the roof to the basement, and they're going to say from all expenses, hey, this is how much longer you're going to have on your roof, this is how much longer you should be able to calculate your rugs and carpets and elevator and things of that nature. And what will end up happening is that they're going to give you an actual price based upon the replacement of it in 5 or 10 years, basing inflation and current costs. And what this allows you to do is to have a really high level overview or scope of what needs to be done at your building, when, and how much it's going to cost you. Now you're going to be able to use this information to be able to have an understanding of, like, okay, well, if the elevator is going to go out in 5 years roughly, or the roof's going to be an additional 10 years, how much should we be putting into our reserve? Well, that's only plays into the consideration of how much of the reserve you're going to use to actually pay for these expenses. I've seen some buildings not use their reserves at all because they don't have any and they didn't plan properly. And what they do instead is they collect an assessment, and that's a one-time expense to be able to help pay for these expenses. A properly managed association will want to have a good mix of both using association, reserves, right? Maybe they're not paying the entire thing, but a portion thereof of it, as well as collecting assessments when necessary. But to be able to have a game plan, they say prior planning prevents poor performance, and to have that understanding using a reserve study of how long things are going to last and what they should be able to, plan out financially, and as well as just getting estimates and quotes, it allows them to better have an understanding of the long term for your association, and letting the other unit owners know as well. Because again, at the end of the day, ignorance is not bliss when it comes to condo associations. Now, to get to the next question of whether you should have a reserve study, reserve studies are not cheap. I've seen reserve studies be $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. It really depends on how big your building is, how intense you want them to go into it. Make sure that there's an actual value that goes along with it. Now, if you haven't had one for years, great, maybe that's an understanding that you can need it. But sometimes reserve studies are so intense, right? And on a really detailed level, do you need that much information? Could you hire a home inspector for $300 that gives you a report of the condition of things? Of course, they're not going to give you the financial aspect of how much it's going to cost to repair. We're able to actually give you a better understanding from a really fast, cheap, affordable way of being able to say, okay, what's going on with the building? Now, by no means do we step in and replace a reserve study. Should you guys as a building want to pay for a reserve study, go ahead, do it, use that information, be able to guide it, but just make sure that you're getting a value out of it that you can actually use and do something about. Don't just take a book, not read the book, and not do anything about it. Because many times those reserve studies get overwhelming for people as well as boards, because they're going to say, oh my God, we're going to have to plan for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And to a certain extent, that's truthful, but not every single building will plan for every single issue. They're going to plan for the big things like the roofs and the boilers and other major expenses. And many things you're going to know what the carpet looks like. Well, again, you're going to want to go out and get bids and quotes, and having the right property management company to help guide you through the process of using a reserve study, as well as just trying to figure out the capital improvements, length of the time of when you're going to be doing things to a high level degree, is really valuable for a board and association.